JJ the CPA here. Hope you're doing well. Hey, thanks for tuning in. As it relates to the self-employed, this huge news that was announced yesterday. So it's almost February 24th, but what we know is that now the self-employed will be able to get their PPP based on the gross receipts up to 100,000. So I'm going to put a link to a video I did in more length, but I got a compelling email from Tommy today. My dad growing up used to always call me Tommy. I was a good friend of his while he was growing up. So it stuck out to me. But the concern was based on an article. I won't name the source, if you will, in terms of who wrote it, that seemed to lead to the conclusion that it would not be retroactive for the self-employed if they had previously applied. Now, I will note this, and it was in the article that Tommy sent me, that we just don't know, in essence, how this is going to go about, because literally we're talking, 30 hours ago, this was announced. I think it's great news. I think we need to stay positive, not necessarily buy into potentially those that are going to maybe skew this, that somebody's going to get left out on the cold on this. There might be a few, but what I wanted to do, and the reason for the video in this manner with, in essence, the studio backwards, is I want to share with you my screen, and I'm going to put a link to this in the body of the video. But what we've got here is an SBA procedural notice, and this is not anything new. This came out January 13th of this year, and it's related to the first draw, and it's talking about getting an increase after the enactment of the recent aid. Now, I want you to remember that with the recent announcement, we need to give the SBA time to get caught up. Now, I'll tell you this right now, at this moment, almost the 24th of February, when I go to the SBA website, they are clearly updating it like right now. There's a bunch of links that are no longer available or looking to be updated, and there's a whole new page, which I'm going to show you here in a second, and I'll put a link to that as well so that you can keep an eye on this. But in this SBA procedural notice that's already in play, we see that for farmers and ranchers, what the procedure is for them, because with the new Appropriations Act that came into play at the end of December, included in that was the new calculation for farmers and ranchers filing Schedule F, which was that their PPP could be based on the gross on Schedule F, of course, up to $100,000. And so in this procedural notice, it talks about how the farmers and ranchers go about reapplying for the first draw of PPP, given that they may have only gotten a small amount based on their net, or they may have not even qualified because they may have had a loss. And of course, if you have a loss on Schedule F, you wouldn't qualify for PPP in 2020. So in the new act, which indicated that farmers and ranchers filing Schedule F, which is another form of self-employment income, that it could be based on the gross. And so the White House announced at this point 30 hours ago or so that for Schedule C filers, the self-employed that file Schedule C, they will also be able to base their PPP on the gross. And the reason that I'm pointing to this SBA procedural notice, yes, it was written January 13th, but it spells out how farmers and ranchers go about reapplying for PPP now that they get to base PPP on the gross. So I would expect that either this SBA procedural notice will be updated, and or there'll be an additional SBA procedural notice that it seems extremely logical that it will just follow suit of what the farmers and ranchers had to do. And so for those that got the first draw as a self-employed Schedule C filer. Of course, it was based on your net because that was the only way to get it. Now it can be based on your gross. And again, we just need to let the SBA catch up with this, which it seems as though they are acting extremely fast on this to give you additional information on that, which at this moment, hours before February 24th, it's just not quite available. So again, I'm putting a link in the body of this video to the pages that you want to keep going back to on the SBA website related to this so that you can keep an eye on the updates. Of course, I'll come out with additional videos. The one thing, though, that is potentially a concern, very well could be what Tommy was concerned about, is that it does appear, when you read that if somebody has received PPP forgiveness from the SBA, based on what we see on this procedural notice written in January, that they don't qualify for the reapplication. Now, I want to tell you this. We need to find ways to be positive, and I don't just mean by sitting in the corner and willing the SBA to be positive on this, but we need to be patient on it. And in terms of being positive, let's look for the ways that you will be able to go back and reapply. If you've already filed for forgiveness on this in terms of your PPP 1 that you got in 2020, it looks like in the moment you may not be able to reapply, but guess what? If you got PPP 1, you put in for forgiveness and you receive forgiveness as a self-employed. Okay, well, then you can go to doing the second draw. Now, you're right. If you don't have a gross receipts for any quarter down by at least 25% in 2020 compared to 2019, then you may not qualify for the second draw based on that. However, go through this same procedural notice, and right now I can't go to it. I'm going to show you in a second because the SBA in this moment of when this video is being recorded doesn't have the information available. It's down. They're updating it. But you can reapply. You can reapply for the second draw. You can reapply for the first draw if the calculation that you submitted, okay, was in essence not correct. Now, I don't mean mathematical. SBA said you can't reapply for mathematical errors, but if the calculation has changed under new rules and regulations, you can reapply. Now, listen, I just want you to stop because I know there's a lot of self-employed. They're in a little bit of panic right now, but this is a good panic. I get it. How can you have a good panic? Well, this is one. The good panic is that you're aware. When you're in a panic, what are you? Aware. So now you're aware, and you're aware maybe first or one of the first. So by me giving you a link to this procedural notice, and I'm going to give you links to the SBA website, big deal, you can find it, but believe me, I'm giving you some direct links that just help you out. So if you go here to sba.gov and you go to sba.gov/PPP, which I'll put in there, when you go to it, it used to, as in this afternoon, had all the information related to PPP. So I'm assuming they are updating this because there is nothing on here. However, brand new within hours, this is how quickly the SBA is working, which they should be very proud of themselves on how reactive they are being, as in immediately. But if we click on this, this provides additional information related to all of the coronavirus relief programs, talking about what the Biden administration has taken steps to promote, which has allowed for the new formula. It's eliminating a couple of provisions that previously were disallowing people from getting PPP, including those that were only able, or they only have an ITIN number, meaning they're a legal resident but not a U.S. citizen. They're now able to apply. But then you're finding all this information here. So this is a new page that's kind of put everything into one. But what I want you to note here, as of the time that this is being filed, again, hours before the 24th, if I click on this, first draw loans, there's just nothing there. There's no conspiracy here. It's just they're updating it. If I click on second draw, there's nothing there right now. So the reason I'm going to put the link to sba.gov/PPP is that very well may be the page that gets repopulated, and you'll need to look for that information because they do a very good job, the SBA, of showing you on the links the most updated date that link has new information on. I'm also going to give you a link to this. So you're going to have 3 links that you can go to look through the procedural notice. It just gives you a guide, gives you maybe some comfort of how you're able to reapply. Now, when you read this procedural notice, I would just caution you to not necessarily read it and then find out all the ways that you can't reapply. Because when we look at this, I feel as though the reason that the entire SBA page has been taken down, if you will, and is being updated is that they're coming up with new procedural notices. Now, part of this is that the White House, I know some of you don't like to hear the word Biden. Some of you love to hear the word Biden. I could care less. I'm just reading to you what's on the SBA website here. But there's a 14-day period starting, depending on when you're watching this, starting Wednesday, February 24th in a few hours at 9 a.m. Eastern time. And it will go through, it'll be 14 days, so it'll go through 5 p.m. Eastern time on March 9th. But I think they are getting additional information. And here's the thing. This program, okay, that was put into play by the previous Congress, the previous administration, that now the new Congress and the new administration is updating, changing. It all seems to be for the better. Doesn't mean that the old was bad. It's all good. It's all good. Okay. Now, if there are a few of you that are on the outside or you think you're on the outside, get with your bank. Have them work with you, because what this is, whether it's the old administration and the old Congress or the SBA under the, before January 20th, or the SBA currently in the Congress, currently in the administration, currently, all of this has been to help the small business owner, the sole proprietor. It's been to help. The only thing that does seem to be a rub is when somebody gets PPP forgiveness by the SBA of somehow locking them out. But what I want you to be mindful of here is keeping an eye on this stuff. And then I wouldn't, I would try and more pay attention to the Journal of Accountancy, as well as maybe Forbes magazine, because typically those two, especially the Journal of Accountancy, which is put out by the AICPA, they just provide the facts. They don't provide opinions. They don't provide quotes from anyone. They just provide, here's the facts, here's the links. When you read the other publications, the news, they're providing quotes. They're providing, here's what this person said or this person said. And all of that is just opinions. What you want to know is facts and circumstances. And quite frankly, the links that I'm giving you here couldn't be more the source for you to go to. Not an article written by somebody that probably just has a business background and is then calling either experts and or government officials to get a comment. That is not going to help. Not going to help. I don't care about Forbes magazine. I'm just saying that's a real resource for me because they have CPAs that write articles about this and they're factual. There's no quotes in it. There's no spin on it. Okay. All right. Hey, listen, hopefully this is a help. Go to the links, keep an eye on them. And at the end of the day, I just want you to know this. I want to find as much information as I can for you on this. I'll be putting out additional videos as new information comes out. And so it would be great if you subscribe to my YouTube channel. Guess what? I don't make a dime if you do. I don't make a penny or a tenth of a penny. I get about a tenth of a penny for each view. So I appreciate you tuning in. But I would love it if you'd subscribe, turn on your notifications. There's a lot of stuff going on. And then know this, I'm a practicing CPA. I've got a lot of new subscribers. Appreciate you. I'm a practicing CPA. So when I'm putting together videos, quite frankly, it's after hours. I have a client list that I'm taking care of. I've got several businesses, which is just to say this. I'm not putting together videos just to put together videos and get your views. When there's something new or something of value or something to act on, that's when I'm putting out videos. So thanks for tuning in to hear. And then don't you ever forget, you've never met a CPA quite like me. All right, have a great one.